What happens when the man who signs the paychecks becomes the guy bussing the tables? Victor Odell owned all 20 locations of the family-style restaurant chain he bought 8 years ago. When he first took over, he was everywhere fixing menus, training staff, shaking hands with cooks and servers. But as the company grew, he stepped back, letting his district managers handle day-to-day ops. Lately, though, things didn't feel right. Customer reviews had taken a dip at his Elmview location. Not terrible, but off. Service was rushed. Waitress looked nervous. Food was cold, staff stressed out, little things, but enough of them to raise Victor's eyebrows. He'd never worked a shift in Elmview himself. It was the 12th store he bought, part of a group acquisition, and he'd never even met the team there. With the chain having over 300 employees, that wasn't unusual. The staff only knew corporate sent checks and policies, they didn't know faces. Victor decided it was time to change that. He shaved the beard he'd worn for years, dyed his hair a darker tone, and put on a fake pair of thick-rimmed glasses. He even added a small limp to his walk, nothing major, just enough to throw off anyone who might have seen his photo in a newsletter. He chose the name Nick. Said he was a new hire from another location, moving to Elmview for family reasons. He drove out on a Monday morning, nervous in a way he hadn't been in years. He was 52, and yet his palms were sweating like it was his first job. "Hey, you the new guy," a cook called out as he stepped through the back door. "Yeah, Nick, starting today," Victor said. "All right, man, grab an apron. Miguel'll set you up." Miguel turned out to be the shift supervisor, young, fast-talking, and clearly stressed. He barely looked at Victor as he handed over a notepad and apron. "You're shadowing Harper today. She's been here like forever. She'll show you how not to screw up." Harper Klein was already setting up her station when Victor walked out. She was in her late 30s, hair tied in a neat bun, movements sharp and practiced. She gave him a polite nod when Miguel introduced them. "You ever worked tables before?" she asked. "Once or twice," Victor said with a grin. "Well, keep up then." She didn't talk much at first. Just showed him how to roll silverware, refill waters where the backup condiments were. But Victor noticed little things. Harper flinched every time Miguel walked by. Her laughter faded the moment she saw him, and when Miguel gave her an order, she answered too quickly, eyes low. Victor leaned in during a quiet moment. "He always like that?" Harper stiffened. "He's the manager." "That's not what I asked." She gave him a hard stare, then looked away. "Don't ask questions you don't want answers to." Victor didn't push, not yet. The lunch rush hit fast. 2 servers called out, so they were short. Miguel barked orders from the pass window and snatched up plates before servers could grab them. At one point, Harper reached for a tray and he slapped her hand away. "Don't touch it unless I say," he snapped. "You keep screwing this up." Victor froze. Harper quickly pulled her hand back and whispered, "Sorry." She didn't screw it up. He'd watched her. She was fast, precise, and handled 3 tables by herself while covering for a no-show busser. Victor watched Miguel closely after that. He didn't yell often, but when he did, it was always toward Harper, never the others. Another server dropped a plate. Miguel joked about it. But when Harper's customer asked for a different dressing, Miguel rolled his eyes and muttered, "You can't even take a damn order right." Victor clenched his jaw. He was here to observe, not interfere, but it was hard. By the end of the shift, Harper was wiping down a table alone while Miguel sat on his phone in the back. "You all right?" Victor asked her. She hesitated. The dining room was nearly empty. Sunlight hit her face just enough for Victor to see the tiredness in her eyes. "Been here 12 years, she said softly. "Used to love this place, but ever since Miguel got promoted last fall, it's been different." "Why don't you file a complaint?" She gave a bitter laugh. "To who?" "District manager's his cousin." Victor blinked. That wasn't in any file he'd seen. "You ever think of leaving?" he asked. "I'm a single mom. My son's 8. I need the health insurance, the tips. I don't have a choice." Victor's throat went dry. He went home that night and sat in his car for a long time before going inside. His wife, Dana, opened the door and paused when she saw his face. "Rough day," he nodded. I think I just met the best server we have, and I think she's scared for her job." The next day, Victor arrived just before the prep cook started unpacking produce. The dining room lights were still off, and the only sound came from the soft clatter of pans and the low drone of the walk-in cooler. As he tied his apron in the back, he noticed Harper already folding linens near the utility sink. There was a quiet focus in the way she moved, but her shoulders were hunched a little tighter than yesterday. "You always start this early?" Victor asked casually, grabbing a stack of menus to wipe down. "Every day," she said. "Tables don't reset themselves." He nodded and said nothing more. Across the prep line, Miguel walked in holding a large iced coffee and a breakfast sandwich, earbuds in, sunglasses still on despite the dim hallway lighting. He passed them both without a word, heading straight into the office. Victor's eyes followed him. The morning moved slowly. The first customers trickled in by 8:30, mostly retirees and young moms with strollers. Victor was assigned to shadow again, this time taking the lead on greeting and clearing. While Harper handled orders, he noticed how often she glanced toward the kitchen doors. Not once did he see Miguel step out to check on the floor. By 10, things picked up. A table of 6 came in, 2 couples with their teens. Harper took their orders, and Victor helped bring out drinks. As he set down a tray of lemon waters, one of the teens nudged his phone toward Victor. "You knew," Victor smiled. "Brand new. Tell your manager the speaker in the restroom's busted. It's just a weird buzzing sound, kinda creepy." "I'll pass it on," Victor said. He went to the back and found Miguel leaning against the office door frame, scrolling through his phone. "Customer said the speaker in the men's room is buzzing. Might be a wiring thing," Victor said. Miguel didn't look up. "Not my job, put it in the logbook." Victor stared at him. "Shouldn't we at least, did I tell you to talk to me about maintenance? That's what the logbook's for." "You got tables to bus." He turned and stepped back into the office, door swinging closed behind him. Victor returned to the floor. Harper was wiping down a booth when he caught up with her. "Is he always in the office?" She didn't look up. "He says he's working." "Emails, reports." Victor didn't respond. He spent the next hour watching her juggle 4 tables while refilling coffee for another. He noticed how she handled a spill with calm efficiency, how she bent to help an elderly guest with his coat, how she remembered a regular's name before he even sat down. At 11:45, a tall girl wearing a wrinkled uniform rushed in through the front door, hair still damp, eyes wide. "You're late," Harper said gently. I know, I missed the bus. I ran halfway here." "You clock in yet?" The girl shook her head, breathless. "Go, I'll cover your section until you're ready." Victor watched the exchange. Harper didn't complain. She didn't sigh or roll her eyes. She just moved to the next table. The girl returned 10 minutes later, flushed and flustered. "Thanks, Harper, seriously. Drink some water, you'll be fine." Victor leaned over. She knew, high school kid, works weekends and a couple lunches, good heart. "No car." Miguel finally emerged around noon, just as the dining room reached capacity. He walked straight to the pass window, took a plate, and shouted across the room. "Who has table 8? Harper raised her hand. "That's me." "No, it's not." "This is yours," he said, holding up a plate with a frown. "You wrote no onions, this has onions. Read the ticket." She stepped up, scanned the slip, and shook her head. "That's not my handwriting." Miguel tossed the plate onto the heat shelf hard enough that the silverware rattled. "Then maybe don't leave your tickets where people can grab them." Victor stepped forward before he realized what he was doing. "That's not her fault," he said. "Kitchen should double-check before plating." Miguel turned to him with a blank stare. "You trying to get fired on your second day?" "I'm just saying, no one asked you to say anything." Victor watched Harper's eyes dart between them. She didn't speak. She just turned, took the plate, and disappeared toward the kitchen. Later that afternoon, the high school girl her name turned out to be Kiara accidentally rang in the wrong tray. The customer was kind about it, but the kitchen had to remake the dish. Miguel waited until the guest was out of earshot before calling her over. "You know we charge servers for waste, right?" Her eyes went wide. What? You screw up an order, you cover it. Don't expect me to clean up after you. Victor stepped between them without thinking. She's a kid. That's not policy? Miguel stared at him. Who the hell are you? Victor didn't flinch. Someone who reads the handbook. Miguel looked at Kiara. Clock out for the day, her voice cracked. Please don't now. Harper stepped in, voice low. She didn't mean to, it's just one plate. Miguel's tone turned cold. You want to cover it for her, that's it? Victor's hands curled into fists. He forced them to his sides. You're not charging anyone. It's not legal. Miguel stepped forward, close enough that Victor could smell the cologne on his shirt. You don't get to tell me what's legal. You're a busser. Victor didn't move. You're right, but I know what unlawful wage practices look like. Miguel turned to the girl. Fine, you stay, but you're on dish duty the rest of the shift. Kiara blinked, stunned. Harper spoke up again, firmer this time. That's not fair. Miguel didn't even look at her. You want to join her? No, she said quietly. Victor looked at the clock. It was nearly 3. They were down one busser and one hostess, and the dishwasher hadn't shown up. He offered to take the back sinks without being asked. In the dish pit, he stood elbow deep in suds, the steam rising around him. He moved fast, scraping plates, stacking trays, rinsing glasses. It gave him time to think. He couldn't stay undercover much longer. He'd seen enough, heard enough. When he finally stepped out at 5:30, drenched and tired, Harper was folding napkins at a side station. You all right? He asked. She gave a stiff nod. You didn't have to step in. I did. She hesitated. He's going to push back hard. Let him. She looked at him closer this time. You're not from another location, are you? Victor met her eyes. No, I'm not. She didn't say anything, just leaned back against the counter and let out a long, shaky breath. I thought so, she said. You act like someone who owns something. Victor wiped his hands on his apron. I do. And I'm about to take it back. Victor returned the next morning without the apron. He wore a pressed navy shirt, clean slacks, and the unmistakable presence of someone who didn't take orders he gave them. The glasses were gone. So was the limp. He walked in through the front, not the back, and didn't hesitate. The hostess, a girl he hadn't met before, maybe just covering a shift, froze when she saw him. Is Miguel in the office? He asked, voice measured. She nodded slowly. Let him know Victor O'Dell is here. And tell him to bring Harper out with him. She blinked, then hurried off. Victor stepped aside, arms folded. The breakfast crowd was still light, but a few early guests glanced up from their booths as the tension in the room shifted. Miguel appeared less than a minute later, face confused and pale. Harper followed a few steps behind, eyes locked on Victor. You, Miguel said cautiously. You're the I'm the owner, Victor cut in, and we need to talk outside. Miguel didn't move. Victor, I didn't realize that's clear. Victor turned, walked out onto the sidewalk, and waited. When the door opened behind him, he didn't look back. Harper, stay here, he said. This won't take long. Miguel stepped out, trying to recover his composure. Look, if this is about yesterday, I think you got the wrong idea. That new guy, you was getting involved in stuff he didn't understand. Things run a certain way here. Victor turned to face him fully. You're done. Miguel blinked. What? You're no longer employed. Your leadership is abusive. You've created a hostile work environment, manipulated a minor, and shown blatant negligence. You're being removed immediately. Miguel sputtered. Wait, hold on, Victor, we can talk about this. I was trained by your regional manager. I've got emails. I can explain. I've seen what I need to see. The damage you've done to this team, especially to Harper, is unacceptable. You're lucky I'm not calling legal. Miguel's mouth hung open. He looked over Victor's shoulder, maybe hoping someone would speak up for him. No one came. I'm giving you 2 minutes to gather your things, Victor said. After that, you don't step back through that door. Miguel stood frozen for a moment, then turned and walked stiffly back inside. Victor exhaled slowly, then opened the door and gestured for Harper. She stepped out cautiously. He's gone, Victor said. Effective immediately. She stared at him, stunned. I didn't come here planning to fire anyone on the floor, but I saw enough. You've carried more weight than anyone should, and you still showed integrity under pressure. That doesn't go unnoticed. She seemed to struggle for words. "Thank you," she finally said. "I owe you more than thanks," Victor said. "Let's go inside, I need to speak with the team." The staff had gathered near the front, quiet and unsure. Kiara stood near the hostess podium, twisting a ring on her finger. A line cook leaned against the wall, arms crossed. No one said a word as Victor stepped into the center of the room. "I know you've all got questions," he said. "Some of you met me as Nick, that was deliberate. I needed to see how this place actually runs, not the version I get in reports." He paused, letting the silence settle. "What I saw was a team doing their best with very little support. I saw missed breaks, ignored maintenance, and a manager who abused his authority. That's on me. I let too much distance grow between myself and stores like this." He looked at Kiara. "You should never have been threatened for a mistake, especially not one that small. That's not how we treat people here." Her eyes welled a little, but she nodded. Victor turned to Harper. "And you 12 years is a long time to stay loyal. I intend to make sure the next 12 look nothing like the last one." He reached into his pocket and took out a folded slip of paper. "This is a temporary promotion order. Effective today, Harper will serve as interim general manager while we begin the hiring process for a permanent one. You'll have full shift authority, access to scheduling, and support from regional." Harper's mouth parted slightly, but she didn't speak. "I'm not asking you to fix everything," Victor said. "I'm asking you to help me build something better." She swallowed hard. "I don't know what to say. Say yes." She nodded once. "Yes." Victor turned to the rest of the group. "There will be changes, starting now. We'll be auditing every store for compliance and culture. If you've got concerns, speak up. If you've got ideas, bring them. We're not a chain of restaurants, we're a group of people, and people come first." He stepped back. "Now I'm staying for the lunch shift, as support. Not as a mystery guest, not as the owner, just someone who's here to help. That all right with you, boss?" he added, glancing at Harper. She cracked a smile. "Grab a rag, we're short on glassware." The team relaxed a little. The line cook laughed quietly. Even Kiara grinned. Victor rolled up his sleeves and headed to the back. By 11, the dining room was moving smoothly. Harper assigned Kiara a light section and let her shadow another server for the first hour. When a guest flagged for extra napkins, Victor grabbed them himself. When the ice bin ran low, he carried the scoop. He didn't direct. He didn't hover. He supported. At one point, he caught Harper checking the schedule in the office, a pen stuck behind her ear. He knocked lightly on the open door. "Need a hand?" She looked up. "You know, I used to dream about running this place, not for the power, just to make it decent again." "You're off to a good start." She leaned back in the chair. "We've got a solid core. Kiara's green but sharp. Andre in the kitchen. Guy can cook blindfolded, but they've been burned. They're not going to trust changes overnight." "They shouldn't." She looked at him. "Trust has to be earned," Victor said. "I'll be back weekly, no suits, no titles, just me checking in." Harper set the schedule printout aside. "What about the regional manager?" "Miguel's cousin, already on administrative review. I'll be speaking with HR this week. If there's any sign of favoritism or cover-up, they're out too." She nodded slowly. "I meant what I said," Victor told her. "This place runs because of people like you. Not despite you, because of you." He stepped back into the hallway, letting her return to the schedule. By the end of the shift, the team felt different, not fixed, but lighter. When a guest complimented Kiara's service, she beamed. When the line cook sent out a perfectly seared steak, Harper fist bumped him through the pass. Victor stood near the exit, watching it all. A restaurant wasn't just food and chairs. It was people. People who gave more than they got, who deserved more than they received. He'd come looking for answers. He found them in a woman who showed up before dawn, kept the place standing, and never once asked for credit. That was about to change. Victor sat in the Elmview office the following morning, no longer undercover, just quiet. The blinds were partially drawn, letting in a dull streak of light that lit the dust on the old filing cabinet. The office was still cluttered, half-used printer paper, mismatched pens, and a corkboard with faded HR notices no one had updated in months. Harper stepped in, a clipboard under her arm. "I've got the scheduled draft," she said, "but it's tight. We've only got 4 servers available for next week and 2 can't do doubles." Victor motioned for her to sit. "Let's walk through it." She took the chair across from him, laying the clipboard on the desk. As they reviewed shifts and coverage gaps, he noticed how methodical she was. She didn't guess. She had notes on every employee who was in school, who had childcare conflicts, who could swing a last-minute call-in. She wasn't just managing a schedule. She was holding the place together with what little she had. "We'll need to post openings by this weekend," she said. "But if we can't get people in fast, I'd rather close Mondays than burn out the team." Victor nodded. "You make that call." "I'll approve reduced hours until we're fully staffed." She hesitated. "You sure?" "I'd rather lose short-term revenue than long-term trust." She crossed out Monday on the schedule. After Harper left, Victor opened his laptop and began drafting a memo for the other location heads. It wasn't just about Elmview anymore. He needed policies in place to prevent what happened here from repeating elsewhere. By noon, the dining room was half full. Victor stayed mostly in the background, observing. Harper moved between tables and the front counter, checking on guests and helping the new hostess, a shy college student named Erin. Kiara was on expo, focused and fast, clearly more confident than she'd been days before. Victor caught up with Andre, the line cook, near the prep sink. "How are things feeling in the kitchen so far?" Victor asked. Andre rinsed his hands and leaned back slightly. "Different, quieter, I mean that in a good way. Anything you need back here, honestly. A second fryer. Ours is on its last legs, makes dinner rush nearly impossible." Victor nodded. "I'll have maintenance assess it this week. If it's too far gone, we'll replace it." Andre stared at him for a moment. "You really doing all this? For real? No point in pretending anymore." Andre gave a short, tired nod. "Then yeah. That fryer's a problem." Victor clapped him on the shoulder and moved on. At 3, the regional HR director, Melissa Tran, arrived. Victor had requested an in-person meeting with her after sending a detailed report on Miguel's behavior and the nepotism that had shielded it. She stepped into the office with a leather folder and a guarded look. "Before we begin," she said, sitting, "I want to acknowledge the oversight. We missed this." Victor didn't let her off the hook that easily. "You didn't just miss it. You ignored red flags because of a family tie." "That ends now." She opened her folder. "We've already initiated the termination process for the regional manager who recommended Miguel's promotion. The conflict of interest was never disclosed, that's on us, but we're cleaning it up." "I want full transparency moving forward," Victor said. "I want new checks for promotions, anonymous feedback from each location, and I want you to personally review every manager complaint, not just file it." Melissa nodded. "Agreed, and I'll be leading training next week on harassment reporting." "Harper will receive back pay for any unpaid hours Miguel docked or manipulated. We're also issuing a formal apology. Make sure it's not just words. She deserves more than that." Melissa closed the folder. "Understood." Victor walked her to the door. Before she left, she paused. "I've been with this company 9 years, she said. "I've never seen an owner step in like this." Victor didn't smile. "That's the problem." By the time the dinner shift rolled around, the restaurant had a different rhythm. Not smoother, there were still gaps, still moments of strain, but more honest, more human. At one point, a guest at table 9 flagged Harper over. Victor watched from a distance as the man leaned in, clearly annoyed. Harper listened patiently, nodded, and returned to the kitchen. She emerged with a fresh plate and an apology. No tension, no fear, just professionalism. Later, as Victor restocked the soda machine, Harper approached him. Table 9 wanted to speak to a manager about their steak, said it was underdone. "You handle it?" "Yeah, remade it and comped dessert." But he asked if I was the manager. I hesitated. Victor set the syrup box down. "You doubting yourself? I'm not used to being listened to. It's strange. Get used to it." She didn't respond immediately, then quietly, "You know, I almost quit last month, was looking at cashier jobs. Something where I wouldn't have to apologize for things I didn't cause." Victor leaned back against the counter. What stopped you, my son? He likes that I work around food, thinks I'm a chef, he smiled faintly. He's not wrong. She glanced out at the dining room. I don't want him to see me afraid, I want him to see me leading. Then lead, Victor said. The title's yours now, make it mean something. The next morning, Victor returned to the location one last time before stepping back. He arrived early before the lights were on, before the first pot of coffee brewed. Harper was already there, keys in hand. She unlocked the door and turned to find him standing behind her. You don't sleep, do you? She said. Not this week. They stepped inside together. The restaurant was quiet, dim. I've got a list, Harper said. Things we still need, training refreshers, a new hostess stand, better uniforms. Send it to me, I'll sign off. She locked eyes with him. You're really leaving this place in my hands, you've already been running it. I'm just finally paying attention. She set her bag down and started flipping on lights. Victor stayed a minute longer watching the place come alive. The hum of the cooler kicked in. The overheads buzzed to life. Chairs were pulled from tables. The world didn't shift dramatically. It wasn't cinematic, but it was real, earned, steady. As he turned to leave, Harper called out softly, Victor, he looked back. Thanks for seeing it for yourself. He paused at the door. Thanks for not hiding it. Then he stepped out into the morning sun. Not as an owner looking down from above, but as a leader who finally understood what it meant to stand alongside.